You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service, your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons, that's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/try us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_that. Well, we're going to revive a segment that I kind of completely forgot about. If you remember, not super long ago, there was a little thing about buying a segment. Had somebody make a donation to the show, which of course I greatly appreciate, and maybe threw a little suggestion in there on what we could talk about. So I forgot that was a thing, but it's a thing if you want me to talk about something, I'm just saying. I am a corrupt individual. And so with that, I've decided on a name. It's called Packernet. Shut up, it doesn't matter. Anyways, let's go.
I'm the Lambo Leech, the Titletown shill. My opinions change with each dollar bill. You want hot takes? I've got them on tap. Just slide some green across the gap.
All right, compliments of Matt. And he says, since you just broke down quarterback clutch stats, can you add a single filter to show only first-year full-time starter quarterbacks? I thought that might be interesting to see where Jordan Love ranks in that. So if you didn't hear that podcast, there was somebody that put out their own sort of rankings on being clutch, and Jordan Love ranked really high. We went and did our own analysis of it, and it turns out it really depends what you're looking at. In one area, Jordan Love was dominant. In another area, not so much. I think the conclusion was more or less, if you got, if you're down in the fourth quarter and you're looking for a quarterback to come back and dominate, Jordan Love is not necessarily the guy. However, third and fourth down, dominant. So, but yeah, adding in a filter, which there is no simple filter, so this is going to be a manual process. Essentially, I was trying to figure out the best way to do it, and what I did is I grabbed the top 32 quarterbacks just from last year. I filtered out quarterbacks that zero people give a crap about, like Tommy DeVito or whatever, and we're left with 28. So then it's just a matter of finding out what year was their first full year, pulling the statistics, and going from there. So in other words, rather than comparing Jordan Love to the rest of the NFL, comparing Jordan Love to the NFL quarterbacks in their first years, which is fair. One other caveat, and there's several sort of issues here that I had to consider. Number one, first of all, I want to use SIS because that's the only real place where I can filter these things. It only goes back to 2015, so I have to cut off some people. There are a couple others that are kind of iffy, and we can potentially address those. I might just remove those. I don't really know. But for example, like Kirk Cousins, who else was it? What the heck is his name? Maybe he's gone already. Oh, no, Jimmy Garoppolo is another one. There's a lot of them, though. Well, there's actually two issues. Number one is some of these guys, quote unquote, started a year, but, like Josh Allen, he played maybe 70, 80%. Or 65 or what. He played maybe 10 games, 11 games. Is that necessarily fair to put him on the list? Should I give him next year? Is that too fair? I don't know. And then the other issue is, like I said, guys like Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, who didn't start until year 5, but they played a ton. If you add up all the times that they played prior to that, it probably adds up to about a full year. So there's some kind of iffy people in here. But right now, if we remove everybody that is later than 2015, earlier than 2015, we're down to 21 current quarterbacks. So here's what I decided to do. I wanted to just pick one statistic that I thought was probably best to look at overall value. And I think one of the best metrics for it, especially on a per play basis, because some of these guys, like I said, played 70, 80%, so I didn't want to use EPA. I decided to go with WAR, or in this case, PAR, points above replacement as opposed to wins above replacement. They're the exact same thing, just with bigger numbers for PAR. So it's easier to see instead of 6 people having like a 1.1, whatever. And then I went back through. So we've got the two things. We've got our late down, so third and fourth down. We got our fourth quarter. And so the thing with Jordan Love is that he was actually very good in late down. He wasn't bad in the fourth quarter. He didn't rank very high, but he was a positive 4.4. So it's, above a replacement level backup quarterback, which is something. And it's certainly better than some of these guys. But if we go through and look at, again, instead of all the quarterbacks this year, just looking at the now 19 quarterbacks that in their first years or whatever, Justin Herbert was the most dominant. And as we'll see, essentially what I did is I just added the two together to come up with the metric. He was the most dominant by far in all these categories. Justin Herbert was fantastic in 2020. Then you have Deshaun Watson, who everybody forgets was actually a really freaking good quarterback immediately out of the gate, but then he had his whole issue, and now he sucks in Cleveland. So he was fantastic. Then you have Jimmy Garoppolo, who I'm going to drop from this, because like I said, this is really like year 5 for him. It was his first full year, but nah. So really, number 3 would be Dak Prescott in 2016. Actually, this is the overall grades that I'm looking at. I forgot to sort it by late down, but it doesn't matter. We don't need to go through all that. So the third best would be Dak Prescott. He was actually pretty similar to Jordan Love. He was significantly better in late down than he was fourth quarter. In fact, CJ Stroud also. So all 3 of these guys who are in order. So it's number 3 is Dak, then CJ Stroud, then Jordan Love in order. Keep in mind, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, a lot of guys are on this list that we haven't gotten to yet. So Dak, CJ, and Jordan Love, it was 29, 24, and 27. So Jordan Love was actually in between these two. But then if you look at how they performed in the fourth quarter, it was 7, 9, 4. So they're all single digits. It's just the other 2 were higher in the fourth quarter, but all 3 of them were kind of rough in that category, and all of them were really good in late down. So all of them were kind of right next to each other. You got Dak, then CJ Stroud, then Jordan Love. After that is actually Kenny Pickett, who was pretty even keel across the board, right? I mean, he was actually quite bad on late down, but he was better in fourth quarter, so that bumped him up. He was actually one of the better ones in fourth quarter. That's the other thing is a lot of guys struggled in fourth quarter. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 that were double digits as far as the points above replacement in the fourth quarter. But anyways, after that, you have Kyler Murray. He was kind of similar to the other guys, just to a lesser extent. 21 late down, 6 fourth quarter. Jared Goff was actually 29.6. I think he was one of the highest. He was actually the second highest behind Justin Herbert when it comes to late down. Negative 8.2 in the fourth quarter, though. Just god-awful. Baker Mayfield was kind of odd. He was actually single digits late down, but double digits fourth quarter. Then it's Joe Burrow in 2020. Then it's Trevor Lawrence in 2021. Then Patrick Mahomes in 2017, who actually was single digits in both, just 2.2 PAR in the fourth quarter. Then Justin Fields, 5.8 and 0.5. Lamar Jackson, 4.5 and negative 1.1. Tua was 0.8 and 1.5. Brock Purdy, which is in 2023, by the way, he did play in 2022, but it was like a half a season, if that. He was 7.3 as far as late down, negative 8 in the fourth quarter. So he's the first to go negative. It's actually tied with Jalen Hurts, who was 17th, negative 10.8 on late down situations, but 10.1 in the fourth. And then Josh Allen was the worst, negative 12.1 in third and fourth down situations, 4.7 in the fourth quarter. He was negative 7.4. The next lowest was negative 0.7. So, I mean, he's up there. His overall score was 31.6, just behind Stroud at 33.7, Dak at 36.9, Watson 37.3, and then Justin Herbert 46. So, good question. And obviously, a lot of these guys did take a big jump. I accidentally put in a couple from the year after because I was going back a year. So I do 2023, and then I'm going through and clicking all the names. And sometimes I'll move on with the names, and I'll start adding all of them, and I'll forget to switch the year to the year prior, 2023 to 2022, whatever. And there's some big numbers. Like, Patrick Mahomes will be like a 40. It's like, oops, forgot to change it. Never mind, that's a 2. So several of these guys took some big jumps. On top of Jordan already doing quite well, especially, late down situation. So, good question. And thank you very much, Matt, for your support. Why don't we take a break? We'll be right back. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service, your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons, that's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/try us. My son started collecting football cards. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, so I went out and bought him one of those binders you put all the cards in and all that kind of stuff. Turns out, card collecting has come a long way since when I was a kid, and that's what people did. Now, there is a new way to buy, sell, and trade cards. It's called Arena Club. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the all-in-one trading card platform that you have to sign up for. Over at arenaclub.com/packdaddy. We actually did a whole YouTube video about this. I would encourage you to check it out. It is a fantastic website. You can, as I said, you can buy, trade, sell, but also you can display all of your cards right there on the platform. It gives you all of the grading. They'll even grade your cards. Their grading combines AI as well as human grading to get the most accurate grading of all your cards. And right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. That's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
I wanted to take a look at something I found really interesting. We've talked about the difficulty of schedules and whatnot, and there seems to be just sort of there's one answer. The most well-known, and we've already been over this, is Warren Sharp over at Sharp Football Analysis. He put the Packers at 19th based on, this one right here, 2024 NFL strength of schedule based on Vegas forecasted win total. In other words, looking at your opponent's expected win totals. And there's a bunch of other stuff in here. Looking at the line, over odds, implied, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So the Green Bay Packers are 19th. The forecast last year was 29th. That ended up being the 5th easiest schedule. Because obviously you don't know which opponents are going to be good and which ones are going to be bad. But that's not the only, way to do things. Pro Football Network has the Green Bay Packers with the 22nd easiest schedule, so a little bit harder. It says, speaking of those Packers, Green Bay fielded the NFL's youngest roster last year and filled many of its positional holes during free agency, adding contributors like Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. Jordan Love and company nearly advanced to the NFC Championship game in 2023. The arrow is pointing directly up for the Packers, who will face the Eagles in the NFL's first ever Brazil game in 2024. And then it just goes through the schedule. Eat, Drink, Sleep Football, EDS Football, has their own system. It says, using each NFL team's 2024 opponents and our 2024 NFL strength of schedule tallies, they've got the opponent record, so this is based on their metrics, presumably, an opponent win percentage. They have the Green Bay Packers with the fourth most difficult schedule. They have the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Green Bay Packers. They have the opponent win record, or opponent record, sitting at 152, 137, and 0, which is an opponent win percentage of .526. Steelers 533, 536, 547 for Cleveland. Those are the only ones that are higher. ActionNetwork.com has the Green Bay Packers sitting at 14th. They do these in opposite orders. You never know if it's easiest to hardest or hardest to easiest. These rankings are from hardest to easiest, meaning it is the 14th hardest. I bring that up for two reasons. Number one, it's kind of a segue into something I found, which is Deep Value Better. We've talked about him in the past. Usually he's more of a regular season guy. He's a big statistics guy. He's got a website, Sportfolio Kings. They really just have a very unique way of looking at different things. They've developed their own metrics, et cetera, et cetera. But also just to say, we talk about the difficulty of the schedule as though it's a sure thing. Like, we know the Bears are going to dominate this year because they have an easy schedule. We don't know that. We know the Packers have a harder schedule. No, we don't. They probably do because they had the fifth easiest last year, but we have no idea. And that brings me to this. Deep Value Better put together a chart from Sportfolio Kings, and it says most situationally difficult NFL schedules in 2024. So this is not necessarily looking at opponents. Here are some of the metrics that they put together. Number one, temperature shock games. The Packers have 0. Now, that doesn't mean they won't be playing in the cold. Presumably, temperature shock games would be like a cold weather team going to a hot weather team, or a hot weather team going to a cold weather team, or something that you're not necessarily used to. Cross-country games, road trips, miles traveled, big negative rest games, big positive rest games, rolling 3-week rest advantage in days. And essentially what this is this goes all the way back to 1999 to find out how many or how difficult your schedule is compared to all schedules since 1999. The Chargers, for example, are in the 99.7th percentile, which means they have a more difficult schedule than 99.7% of schedules since 1999. It's one of the hardest schedules ever. They have 2 temperature shock games. They have 5 cross-country games. One of the benefits of being a coastal team. 13,624 miles traveled. Negative rest games, and it says big negative rest games. I'm assuming this means big games with negative rest. They have 3 of them. Big games with positive rest, they have 0. Rolling 3-week rest advantage, negative 10.3. It's one of the big. 49ers are at 96.9. Those two are really, really high, and then it drops down to 90.1. Then you have the team that's supposed to have a really easy schedule, Chicago, is actually sitting as the highest or the hardest, most difficult schedule. Now, remember, this is not necessarily about opponents, depending on what exactly big games mean. Could just be Monday night, whatever. But they have a schedule that is 71.9%. So harder than almost 72% of schedules since 99. The Vikings are just behind them at 16th, 56.1. Hilariously, this is almost in exactly opposite order. Then you have Detroit. They're sitting at 21st. Their schedule is harder than 40% of schedules since 99. The Green Bay Packers have the easiest schedule, and it's not even close. Dallas Cowboys sit at 31, 12.9%. The Packers, 5.1%. This schedule is easier than 95% of schedules since 99. They have a rolling 3-week rest advantage of 8.3 days. Big positive rest games, they have 2. Big negative rest games, 1. Miles traveled, 11,000. Road trip, 1. Cross-country games, 1. Those are going to be both Brazil. And temperature shock games, 0. So for some context, temperature shock is defined as 15 degrees colder or 25 degrees warmer than the team's relative seasonal local temperature. Cross-country is defined as crossing 3 time zones or traveling internationally. Road trips are defined as back-to-back road games. Packers are one of the few that only has 1 back-to-back road games. So as far as opponents are concerned, the Packers supposedly have a very difficult schedule. But as far as the actual layout of the schedule, they've got a cake schedule. A couple other minor things here. Michael Pratt, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, got a key to Boca Raton, apparently. Which I'm a little annoyed that I have to say it that way because I've always called it Boca Raton, but Boca Raton. So now we got 2 players with keys to 2 different cities. Michael Pratt just looks like he's living the dream. Florida guy, nice tan. You know what I mean? He's just freaking the guy, all right? Also wanted to go through this. It's kind of random, but I came across it. Video that popped up, NFL on ESPN. I don't know who any of these guys are. It's Kevin Clark is joined by the Ringers' Steve Ruiz and PFF's Seth Galina. It's actually kind of embarrassing that these are, you just assume, like, if you're a professional, like, national guy, you do this 24/7, you look at all 32 teams, you should have a pretty solid understanding of your opinion of things. Here is Kevin Clark, I believe, is the guy that's mainly talking, and he's talking to one of the other guys, whoever's on the far right. Let's go ahead and say it's PFF Steve Galina. I don't know. I would Google it, but the 2 guys, the middle and right, look pretty similar. I probably would mess that up. But they're discussing who can win the Super Bowl in 2024, and they're going through different teams. They just got done arguing about the Lions, according to it is Lions. They got done talking about the Lions, and the guy on the left seems pretty optimistic about stuff, like they kind of just almost won, so I don't know what you're talking about. The guy on the right just hates everybody. Like, nobody can win except these 2 teams or whatever. But you get to hear we'll say, co-host start to come to the realization as he talks through it that, oh, wait, as they move on to the Packers, oh, wait, maybe they're not as crap as I thought because I've actually never put more than 2 seconds of thought into this, which apparently seems to be the case.
I think Packers are going to win the division.
That's the main host.
Let's put that out there. I think the Packers are going to win the division. I think the Packers can win the Super Bowl. That's one thing. But the Lions have a really good roster. They have a toughness. Ben Johnson has come back as play caller. I think they can, oddly enough, be better than they were last year and still not have the results of last year because the Packers might be like 14-win type of team.
Whoa.
But I think it's ludicrous.
I'm pro Packers, but 14 wins, that's a lot. But I'm down. I love it.
We play 17 games now. We play 17 games. What's your Packers beat?
No, I don't really have. I just don't. 14 is a lot. Like, I'm just saying.
No, you just think they get. No, but you also think they can't win the Super Bowl.
I love Jordan Love. I love watching him play. I was like completely wrong about him as a prospect, though. I think a lot of
Here comes the compliment sandwich.
I guess I don't have that much like issues with them. I love Matt LaFleur. I think that's a huge. I was actually going to say this about the Jets. Like, Rodgers with LaFleur is a lot different with Rodgers with Hackett because of how good LaFleur is. But yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I just think I'm more of I think more of 11 wins type of thing.
11 wins can also get you the Super Bowl.
Whatever. Packers Super Bowl team. That's one.
No, I'm just asking you, like, what is their flaw that keeps them from being sub-Jaguars, in your opinion?
You know what? As I'm like going through the roster, I'm like, I actually think their defense is probably, their coverage is probably better than I think people believe. I think it's pretty good. Got a lot of interesting players there. And obviously offensively, they're can be fine. I guess, like, you know, is Love like the best quarterback? No, like, let's not get carried away here.
Yes, he is.
I think he was. I remember when I watched him early in the season, like, the thing that I was right, that I ended up being right about was, like, yeah, the results weren't there, but you could see the process was really, really good. And
Pause. Let me interrupt real quick. The thing you were not right about. Like, if you have an assessment of Jordan Love prior to the season and you go into it and you say, I don't think he can do this, that, or the other. And then you go back and you say, yeah, I think I was wrong about a few things. But if you look at the first half, I was right about X, Y, and Z. No, you weren't. Just because he got off to a slow start. And again, if you want to say that I think the guy who played in the first half is the real Jordan Love and the guy who played in the second half is the fake Jordan Love, fine, make that argument. But to choose, like, his low point, like, only selectively look at when he couldn't quite figure it out and like the team didn't have it figured it out and say, see, I was actually right about X, Y. No, you weren't, because that's not an accurate representation of Jordan Love. So you were wrong about all those things.
And I think maybe accuracy is not like a perfect, but when you're playing with LaFleur and you're making good enough decisions, like it's probably all right. So yeah, I know I'm very bullish on this team. I really, really like them. I don't know if Super Bowl, but yeah.
I got you.
I feel like two things have to happen.
I don't understand. It's like, I really like them, right? I think they're really good. They can win 11 teams. I just don't know about Super Bowl. What 11-win team can't win the Super Bowl? I mean, they already beat the Chiefs last year, right? So what is the barrier? It's not the Lions, because they already beat the Lions. Who's the barrier? The 49ers, who lost to the Chiefs, who lost to the Packers? They are beyond good enough. It seems like he has such a narrow view of who can win the Super Bowl. It's the Chiefs and 49ers, I guess. That's it. Because if you go beyond that, I'm sure he would say Lions, but he's wrong. He even said he doesn't even like the Lions. I don't know what his thing is. I have no idea. It's 49ers and like 3 AFC teams.
For the Packers to make the Super Bowl. Like, Jordan Love's ascension continues. And then, like, Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator from Boston College, like, that's the big question. If he adds value as a DC, which they haven't had from that position, I mean, I would argue that they could be one of the favorites to actually win the Super Bowl. Like, I would think about putting them over the 49ers. Like, I think they have that.
He's 100% right. There are two things that need to happen. Number one, they have to fix the defense. Number two, Jordan Love needs to continue being the guy that he already is. Now, he says, continue to ascend. In other words, if he means that he needs to continue to get better, I don't necessarily think that's true. I'm fine with it. He can stay exactly the guy he was when we ended the season and be a top 5 quarterback, more than talented enough to win the Super Bowl. And yeah, they also would need somewhat of a complementary defense. We've gone through this already. The Packers, when they have really good defenses, they win Super Bowls. That's it. It's not even a question so much in the other way, where it's like, do they need a good defense to win Super Bowls? The answer to that is yes. You can even say it as, when they have elite defenses, they win Super Bowls. That's really, and that's it. That's it. We talk about, wide receiver one. We talk about the offensive line. We talk about two things, and two things only. Do we have a defense? Is Jordan still that dude? If that's the case, I don't give a crap. I don't. It doesn't matter. The offensive line has a floor. We've seen Aaron Rodgers play with elite offensive lines and subpar offensive lines, and you know what? He managed. We've seen him with elite wide receivers and wide receivers. And you know what? We managed. Jordan Love's going to be fine. With Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, talented wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, and a offensive line that, again, probably not going to be the number one offensive line in football, but it has a floor with guys like Zach Tom, guys like Rasheed Walker, guys like Elton Jenkins. Bring that defense. The third thing you could add as a caveat, which is true of all teams, is health. Injuries will derail this whole thing, but that's it. That's the whole thing. And the annoyance that I have with people who are just like, I don't really know. Like, Packers, I don't know. Like, why? Well, I guess if you think about it, like, they're good. And I mean, yeah, they have like a really good head coach, and like, yeah, Jordan Love actually looked really good. And like the wide receivers, they're actually pretty good. And, they got some promising tight ends, and they always do a good job with offensive line. And yes, they got a new defensive coordinator. And yes, Rashawn Gary and Jair are quite good. And yes, they did go get Xavier McKinney. And yes, they do have one of the top running backs that they brought in free agency, as well as drafting a guy and having a three-headed monster along with A.J. Dillon. Yes, they do have all that. So I guess if you look at it like that, yeah, they're good and all. But I don't know. Like, really? Like, are we? It's like we're playing that same game from last year. Like, really? We really think that the Packers are going to be good? Really? Like, it's impossible. You're going to suck. It's like, it's not impossible. All that needs to happen is Jordan Love needs to be good. Really? Like, you really believe Jordan can be good? Like, really? Why can't he? Really? 3 in a row? Really? I don't know how math works. Really? 3 in a row? It's impossible. Duh. It's just, come on, man. You got to have more than that. Tell me you know at least a little bit. Like, can they win the Super Bowl? You come in, you're like, nah, not the Packers. Why? Well, I don't know. I mean, they're good. Yeah. Are they playoff good? Yeah. I mean, by the way, that's really the only qualification for winning a Super Bowl, is getting into the playoffs. At that point, pretty much roll of the dice. I mean, obviously you have a better chance if you have a better team, but it's pretty wide open for any one of those teams. Crazy stuff happens. I mean, it has been, that theory of mine has been pretty well interrupted by the Chiefs, and prior to that, the Patriots, who just refuse to ever lose. But outside of those examples, of which there are only a few, it's just a crapshoot. Anyways, why don't we go ahead and take a break? We're going to come back and do some calls. That's what I think we're going to do with some calls. I think I might lean on those a little bit while we're in the off season. I don't know exactly what that means for Packernet After Dark. We'll play it by ear, but that's what we're going to do. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with Randy from Minnesota.
Hi, Ryan. Randy from Minnesota.
Hey.
Just listening to the pod on fan behavior, and that's glorious. That's absolutely fantastic. I think one thing that should be done is at the game, when you got some clowns yelling, screaming, bumping their gums when they don't need to be, or when they shouldn't be, i.e. the Packs on offense, I think the Jumbotron should zoom in on these people and basically underneath it, don't be one of these.
Yeah.
Maybe that way we can finally get some people that, I hate to say it, actually behave themselves and fan.
Shame them.
In a way that doesn't hurt the team. Just a thought. I've gone on it before. It's incredible sometimes up there. Can never understand why you would want to yell and scream while they're trying to make audibles on the line. And it's just crazy to me. Anyway, that's my own rant. So, love the show. Go Pack, go. Bye.
Yeah, we should shame them. I like that. It reminds me of, what is that stupid gym? There's a gym chain where they have a thing called a lunk alarm, where apparently if you make noise in a gym, like if you actually exert yourself in a gym, they shame you by setting off an alarm, because apparently that makes everybody feel welcome. I don't know. But yeah, the Packers should do that for sure. Just put their head in a circle, call it the circle of shame. I would say boo this man, but the idea is to keep them quiet, which could end up being the problem, right? If we start putting them up on the Jumbotron, then everyone starts booing, becomes a whole thing. Maybe we wait until the commercial break, and then we do a whole thing where it's like, these people made noise. But then the other issue is that some people, rather than being shamed, will be like, hey, I want to be on the Jumbotron. And so they start screaming. We don't want to encourage that behavior. Unless we, really ramp it up. We got to make sure the incentive structures are set up such that it's worse for you to be on the Jumbotron than positive. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is the person, this is their section, go beat the hell out of them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying we should do it, but that would maybe tip the scales enough where it's like, I would love to be on the Jumbotron and all, don't want to be booed and punched. I don't know. We need some fine-tuning and tweaking, but I think we're on to something here, Randy.
Yo, Ryan.
Yo.
It's your uncle, Rico.
What's up, Rico?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
It's, what day is it? I think it's the 6th. It's Saturday. I hope you had a good 4th of July. Hope you didn't lose any digits.
Nope.
You know, with
Got
the
'em all.
fireworks and whatnot. I hope your meat, I know you cooked meat, so I'm sure that was excellent. I cooked meat.
I'm currently waiting to go outside and do some chops. I haven't done chops in a while. I just appreciate some good thick. I don't like the bone in. Some people they're bone in people. I'm not a bone in person. Bone in chicken thighs, bone in steaks, and bone in what are we talking about? Pork chops. Not for me. I don't understand the appeal of it. I think it can throw off temperatures. Plus, you get that nasty part by the bone. Plus, you miss some meat by the bone. It's unnecessary. It's in the way. It messes up the cook. Just not for me. But I'm currently starving, and I'm trying to decide if I should do pork chops with just by themselves, get some good green tomatillo sauce, throw in some hot sauce, and just go to town because I got a bunch of pork chops. If I should do pork chops and rice, which is a classic, or I really am craving some pork chop sandwiches, man. You get some good Weber grilled pork chops. Just get some plain old frickin' Wonder Bread or some cheap white bread. The thing that I love about that is you butter it up, like, Wisconsin style, slather some butter on there, and then you take that sandwich, and the juice is first of all going to melt that butter, and it's going to just blend in with the juices. But then also, that white bread is just so thin and flimsy that it's just going to soak it all up, and it's just like a thing that just becomes like a mushy, disgusting, sloppy, amazing sandwich. Anyways, I'm hungry. Sorry, Uncle Rico. Go ahead.
No, actually, I didn't cook it. The neighbors cooked meat, and it was excellent.
Nice.
It was great. I don't know, something went wrong with the beverages and the meat, though. I spent a lot of time in the men's room, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
But
okay.
TMI? Was that TMI?
A little bit.
I had to work Friday.
What did you drink?
And that was rough. But anyways, you guys are all talking about the brats, and it just keeps popping in my mind. I've been going to mention it a couple times when you're talking about brats. We have a brat place near us that makes all kinds of. I'll get a list of the flavors and let y'all know what they got, because some of them are weird. I want to tell you they have a brat with Skittles in it.
Come on.
You can see the little dudes inside the brat before you cook it. Different colors in there.
Some of that stuff is stupid. Look, first of all, I'm iffy on other types of brats being like brat. Like to me, it's a different category. Like back in Kenosha when I lived there was it might even just been like Piggly Wiggly or something, but they had, the guys in back, they'd put together some stuff, and they had I think it was jalapeno cheddar, maybe it was just jalapeno, I don't know. Those things were delicious. I loved them. But that's not like a brat. Like when I think brat, it's a Johnsonville brat. That's it. That flavor is what a brat is. Yeah, it's, you mix some stuff in there once in a while. It's like a different kind of sausage. It's brat-ish with some stuff mixed in. And some of them are really good, but I just feel like we need to be very specific in which category we're talking about. Are we talking about other experimentary kinds of brats, like cheddar brats and all that kind of stuff, which can be okay? Or are we just talking about freaking brats? Just Johnsonville brat. I don't know what other companies make brats that taste like brats, so I'm just going to pump up Johnsonville. You're welcome for the free advertising, but that's what a brat is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
And I'm not eating
it's
Skittle.
It's not as nasty as it sounds. It's not a bad brat, but they got all kinds of flavors, and one has Skittles. So, just putting it out there. If anybody wants Skittle brats, I'll tell you where to get them. All right. Oh, and I'm Jack, the Rashawn Gary, Jack. I can't remember what I should read up on this or figure it out. I know that last year, last season, that people were a little disappointed in the Rashawn Gary performance. Did we discover that he was injured all year, or I remember people saying that, oh, he got his big contract and now he's not hitting it hard. But we know Rashawn Gary hits it hard. So what was the cause of the poor performance, or not awesome performance, whatever? Curious about that. So getting excited. July. Training camp's coming. Go, Pack, go! Rico out. Everybody have a good weekend. Be safe.
Yeah, I'm still concerned because, the most, what do you call it, accurate timeline or precise timeline would, if you're looking at when he performed well and when he didn't perform well, it wasn't anything to do with the injury necessarily. It had more to do with the contract. It seemed to me that when the contract hit, everything went south. So, yes, Rashawn Gary hits it. He looks like he's hitting it. Maybe he got a little soft when the contract came around, got up in his head a little bit. Maybe he was a little worried about it. I don't really know the situation. But all I can hope is it was a temporary lapse. Maybe it had to do with the whole defense kind of coming together and, falling apart down the stretch, and he was a part. I don't know. I really don't. But I'm hopeful that we got a new slate here, and we can just start over,
Forget to sleep last night, kid? Did you forget to sleep last night?
Okay, I think that was an accidental call.
Hi, Ron. Randy from Minnesota.
What's up, Randy?
Just got done listening to your pod on the TV deal. I would suggest you listen to, I heard it on Cheesehead TV, an interview with Andrew Brandt.
Yeah, somebody actually, it might have been you, actually. Somebody mentioned that on social media. I still forgot to do that, so I should go. But maybe you can fill me in.
He basically said this is going to become a non-issue. He feels it's going to get thrown out, and at very worst, if it does go on, he said this would be years before a payment would ever be made.
Sure.
He gave a lot more in-depth than what I can give you and remember, but basically I was like you, like, oh my God, sky's falling, but after I listened to him, it really calmed me down and took care of a lot of my fears. So it was on Cheesehead TV just last week, and Andrew Brandt, it's worth a listen. It might give you some different ideas. Also, your 4th of July AI song was epic. Loved it. Thank you so much. Love that.
I liked it too.
Finally.
My wife made me turn it off.
What are you feeling?
I was playing it for the kids because I was humming it all day. Like I was singing it in my head. I'm like, what are you singing? What is that song? I'm like, you don't know that song? Everybody knows that song. It's such a good song. Started playing it. My wife's like, turn that off. That's terrible. And then I played the Rashawn Gary song, which I thought she would also hate. She's like, well, it's better than that 4th of July song. I'm like, okay, fine.
On brat patties. I personally like them because it gives me more surface area for my cheese. And unlike you, I do like sauerkraut. No. And it's easier to hold with all that stuff on it. Just a thought. I kind of dig it, especially after a few barley pops. It's easier to hold on to. But anyway, love the show. Go Pack, go.
All right, I've got, I don't have the video itself, but I've got Cheesehead TV's YouTube here, so hopefully that'll serve as a reminder for when I'm perusing tomorrow for content. Hopefully I'll remember to look for that. But yeah, I mean, I had made the comment that this has to get thrown out. It's such a garbage thing. Like, it doesn't surprise me that it got pushed through in California, but I think if it goes up to a higher court, and that's, that's part of the situation is the NFL has the money to drag this on for a very long time. I mean, that's one of the tactics you can use. I don't know how much money is currently behind this. Obviously, the lawyers are looking to earn billions, so they're not going to give up very easily. But the NFL has a lot of money to either drag this out, or if they have a winning case, which I would assume they do, to rush this to a more favorable court and get this crap thrown out. But yeah, that is a good point that, payments and how they could be set up. It doesn't necessarily have to be, the issue with COVID that was so devastating is that it was an instant impact, right? And whereas the situation here could be payments, and who knows, they could do 30 years, in which case maybe it wouldn't necessarily be, like I said, like COVID. And that was one of the things I didn't necessarily, I compared it to COVID and how devastating it would be, but that only would assume that it would be an all-in-one payment, which of course it would not necessarily be. And yeah, as far as the brats, like I said, I have not had a brat patty. I don't know why it would be anything other than glorious. But it wouldn't be as necessary for me because I don't want anything on it. I don't. I mean, I will tolerate ketchup on a brat if it happens to be on the brat. But I don't want ketchup. I don't want mustard. I don't want onions. I don't want sauerkraut. I don't want anything on it. So I'm perfectly content just slapping that thing in a bun. And I definitely could see how it would be annoying. It's like the Chicago-style hot dogs, loading it up with all that stuff. That's got to be somewhat annoying. I don't know, because I don't put all that crap on my stuff, so I wouldn't know. But I could see where that would be problematic, and you'd rather just have more surface area, like you said. All right, we got a couple from Seth, and then we'll bounce.
Hey, Ryan, it's Seth.
Hey.
Hopefully you can hear me. My phone's acting up like crazy this morning.
So far, so good.
6-month-old iPhone 15 Pro, so it should be fine.
I would hope.
I am an Apple guy. He used to have an Android.
Sorry.
I just want to say this is like totally off topic. Can Elon Musk just make a phone already? Everything he does is awesome. He's teased it forever. Give me that Tesla phone that can connect to 5G or to Starlink.
That's the thing.
I'm ready for it.
I thought I remember hearing something about that. Maybe he just, sometimes they'll throw something up on X where it's like, how would you buy a phone or whatever? I can't imagine it would be that big of a deal. I mean, what are the components of a phone that he wouldn't be able to slap together, I mean, batteries, he already is in the battery business with his cars, software and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure you can just grab the, probably be an Android thing, I'm assuming, unless he's going to get his own proprietary thing, which I would doubt. So, I mean, you got Android already prepackaged into it. So all you got to do is, you build out, I'm sure it's going to be some obnoxious looking thing. And then, it comes with Starlink, which of course is going to have the best service like anywhere because you can take it out into the remote areas of whatever, and it's always going to be working. How do you even compete with that? Everybody else is trying to pop up towers and stuff. Starlink, you'd be out in the middle of the ocean, you got internet. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of projects, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a thing at some point or another.
Anyways, that's not why I called you. It was, sorry. The reason I called you is about this NFL ticket stuff. Couple things for you. One is just a clarification for you. It's with YouTube TV now and not DirecTV. I think that's part of the lawsuit or whatever, if I understand it correctly, is when the NFL moved it from DirecTV to YouTube TV. Can't remember who it was. I want to say it was ESPN, but that could be wrong. Another company wanted to get tickets on a ticket and offer it for a much cheaper price. So they're using that as a leverage point, not just saying it's more expensive, but saying the NFL is intentionally driving up the cost, which I agree with you. I think it's bogus. It's expensive. I wish it was cheaper, but whatever.
The thing, though, is, again, if the NFL, which is the claim, if the NFL is saying, we cannot offer it at a lower price or it will damage our product, and so you can sell it, but it has to be at this price. In fact, let me give you an example. I see this all the time. There are certain companies like, I don't know if they actually do it, but there's I'll give him a shout out because I like Mike Matthews, I think is his name, is a fitness guy, and he has a company called Legion Athletic. Certain companies like that sell stuff on their website. Now, they will distribute their products to sell in other places. Sometimes they do not, and Legion might be one of those cases. But oftentimes what they'll do is they will distribute it, but they will make sure that there has to be a minimum price, either exactly what our price is on the website or higher. Even though I can sell it to you at a certain cost and you can actually undercut me, I'm not going to let you do that. In other words, you're only able to sell my product at X price. And remember, here's the other thing, and the other reason why this is bogus. We're saying that the NFL is driving up the price. The NFL's not getting the profits from those price hikes. Those profits go directly to DirecTV or YouTube TV or whoever is holding it at that time. So it's not in direct conflict. In other words, it's not you need to sell more so we make more. It's I'm forcing you to raise the price and make more for yourself so that you don't damage our our bread and butter product over here. And again, if you refuse to do that, then you can't have it. That's the whole thing, and that's why I think this lawsuit is nonsense for numerous reasons, but that would be the main reason. You can't even draw a line between the inflated prices and the people who are inflating the prices. They're not taking any of that revenue.
The other thing I wanted to just throw out there for everyone is it actually has gotten better than DirecTV. So before, you had to have DirecTV. There's no way around it. Now you can either get YouTube TV and add on Sunday Ticket as a package, and you get it for, I think it's like $350 a year, but they'll break it up into 4 monthly payments for you if you want to. I mean, it's the same cost, but if you want to spread it out. Or you can pay $100 more, so you can pay $450 for the year and just have it as part of your YouTube account, not pay for anything else, just get Sunday Ticket. So that's actually cool that they offer something where it's not both. Now, some things I think they should do, in addition to me also just wishing that it was cheaper, is offering, monthly payments. You're locked in for that month, but you don't, right now they'll do monthly payments, but you're committed to the whole cost, so you can't back out of it. I wish they would allow you to just buy it for a month. So say the Packers have 2 games that aren't going to be on TV wherever you're at. I'm in Iowa, so we don't get all the local games like you do in Wisconsin, but we get a lot of them. So then, I could buy it for a month. They'd still make a ton of money, but I wouldn't be locked into the whole $350. The other thing that I think they should do, and maybe they've just run the analysis on it, it's not beneficial, but do it for a game.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. Obviously, the more options and the lower prices, the more we're going to like. And generally, the more we like it, the more that the more profit somebody else is going to make. So, there are going to be barriers here that are unfortunate, but that is the unfortunate thing about, we talk about it's a monopoly or whatever. It's like, well, yes, the NFL is a monopoly. Of course it is. It's a monopoly over the NFL. You could say well, what if the NBA starts lowering their prices and all that stuff? It's not going to have any impact for me because I'm not going to go over there. It's not really a competition. Now, it might be for some people who watch a lot of sports where they're going to end up watching more, but even the seasons don't necessarily overlap, at least not a ton. Baseball's over by what, November? Early November, I think. So, I mean, just off the top of my head, would I love? Absolutely. I would love it if you could buy individual games. I'd be all for it. But these things are always so nuanced and difficult. It's like, well, why can't they lower the price of Sunday? I don't know, dude. It seems like they should be able to, but they're not. And, I think the more you dig into it, and this is true of a lot of things, man. There's so much craziness, especially with politics and stuff, and everything explodes. And it's like, oh, this is huge controversy. And so I was like, all right, let me look into it a little bit. And it's usually, even if you agree with one side or the other, it's almost never as serious or inflammatory as it's made out to be. I still fall on one side or the other, but it's like, all right, let's tone down the rhetoric a little bit. It's not quite that crazy. And I think it's the same thing with the NFL. This is some evil, horrible corporate entity that just wants to screw over the little man. They literally make money by providing what you want. It doesn't make any sense that they would just randomly decide to screw you. It's like, well, they make more money. They literally don't. They don't make any more money from this. The only possible argument you can make is if the NFL is charging more because they're going to be earning more, which isn't even, I don't think you can even prove that because their earnings might actually go up if they provide it for less because you have a lot more people getting on board. But that's the only thing, it's I'm going to sell these for $1 million. I'll sell you access to my product for $1 million, and then you can sell my stuff. It's like, well, I'm not going to make any money off that. It's like, well, you will if you jack the price up to 50 per, and so they have to do it to justify the price that they paid or something. I mean, that's the closest I think you can get to making sense of that. But there would be no reason to do that. For example, if ESPN came into the picture and they said, hey, I tell you what, I want to pay the price. In other words, I'll pay the same price, but I want to offer it at a lower price. Why would they say no? Right? So again, I think the whole thing is completely bunk. I think you're going to find that out very easily, which is why I think that there could absolutely be more to this. I'm obviously looking surface level. I'm sure there are 500-page documents out there somewhere, or 500 pages of documents, defending and going after the NFL. There's probably some nuance and things that I'm not seeing, but this seems stupid. It sounds like whiny garbage to me. I want it to be cheaper. You're being unfair. You're an evil, greedy corporation, and I'm going to sue you for billions of dollars. Like, okay, chief. Okay. But I will say, I do like that more and more people and things are getting involved. Now, granted, the logjam is always going to be the NFL, but I like that YouTube is getting involved, that Amazon is getting involved, that at one point Twitter, and this was before Elon took over. I know Twitter was talking about possibly trying to get involved and whatnot. I just feel like as long as people keep pushing, and the innovation is going to be a lot slower because again, there is this logjam of the NFL just constantly saying no, it has to be this very rigid format. But as long as there are people that are trying to innovate around it, I love that Amazon came out with that thing where you can have the different, this vision, that, all these different things. I like that. I think that's going to push more people to start doing things. I'm hopeful that Netflix can come up with some different stuff. It might be a little bit more of a slow grind, but we've slowly started to see more and more, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so I'm hopeful that they'll continue to allow newer and more innovative ways to get people access to games. Because, look, I mean, ultimately, if you want the sport to be bigger, which is what you want, you got to increase access. And they know that. And so there is sort of a balance of, having a paywall in which we can make money. And of course, you have the free games, but, whatever. But also maximizing access. That's why, by the way, like overseas, things are so much cheaper. Why? Because they're more concerned with access. Because it's not as big of a sport. So we want to make sure that there's more access and less of a paywall. We're in America, where we already love the sport. It's more of a paywall and less about access. But anyways, all right, Seth, part 2.
Hey, sorry, I'll keep it super short since I'm over on my time. I was saying I wish they would do it for a game and charge a premium. So think of it like boxing or UFC pay-per-view fights. They charge like $100 for a fight, and often those things last like 5 minutes because someone gets knocked out. If I got most of the Packers games but just didn't get one here and there, I'd pay $50, $75, $100 to watch that game. So anyways, I think that would be a nice option as well. Yeah. But so I think that they could make it better, but I do also agree that the lawsuit is ridiculous for what they're trying to get. But anyways, talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be in their best interest. I don't think that they want to explore a lot of things right now. I think they like just selling things as major packages for massive sums of money and letting them kind of sort it out. But I am hopeful. The other thing that kind of sucks is the fact that they sell things in like 30-year packages. It's like billions of dollars over 30 years. It's like, well, okay, I guess we'll revisit this in 30 years. But I'm exaggerating a little bit. But I don't know. I'm just, technology is growing rapidly. We've talked a lot about, not just AI, but like VR and AR and whatnot. Prior to the AI explosion, that was kind of on the forefront, and that's still a thing. That's still, I still think that would be fantastic to be able to set up VR spaces where you can show up essentially live to the game with a VR headset, and or even an AR headset where you can bring the game in your living room, and you can essentially sell unlimited tickets because there's no limit. Everybody can share a seat. And it could just be based on tiers. You pay more for like field access, or you're basically on the field. You can, that like overhead spider camera thing could be your seat, or you could be up in the 500 nosebleed seats, depending on what access. I mean, why wouldn't you want to invest in something like that? I just think that would be fantastic. And I would be, if I were Roger Goodell, I'd be talking to Facebook and Meta. I'd be talking to, all these different companies that are looking into that and just say, how do we get to that step? How can we get there? Because, again, it's like, well, how can we make more money, rich, greedy, blah, blah. It's like, come on, let's not think that way. What is a way that can benefit everybody? More revenue for the Green Bay Packers, more access for Packer fans, better experiences for fans. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? I just think that would be everybody wins, and we don't need to be upset about it. So, again, point is, I'm just hopeful that as we, as a society, innovate, that the NFL embraces it and moves us forward with it, because it's just going to mean more and better access, and that's a good thing in my estimation. All right, I'm going to get out of here. You folks have yourselves a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.